still being slept on.
Right now on The Undefeated, Jason Reed and Jay McManus write about Stanford running back Christian McCaffrey entering the NFL and how his story is an example of the role race plays on who lines up where in the NFL. And Jason joins us now. So McCaffrey is playing against type, this white tailback, and as you write in the piece, the first white running back expected to be taken in the first round since John Cappelletti, way back, was
1974?
74, so a long, long time ago. Tell us what McCaffrey's up against here.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. When we started to research this piece, you look at how we looked at how NFL positions break down, basically along racial lines. And you have this back in McCaffrey, this dynamic guy who does all these things, broke Barry Sanders' all-purpose FBS record when he was at Stanford. And, you know, you have a guy who isn't looked at as a classic fit for that position simply because he's white. Because, you know, white tailbacks have not been featured in this league for quite some time. And so what he has going against him is he's a guy who, by any measurement, is a top 10, top 15 pick at the latest. But because of his race, he's looked at in a certain way because of the way NFL positions break down, in many cases, along racial lines.
Give us the whitest positions and the blackest positions in the NFL.
Well, the NFL is almost 70% African American, so across the board, that's what you're dealing with. That's your foundation. Well, cornerback. There are no white cornerbacks, at least full-time starting white cornerbacks in the NFL. Jason Sehorn, who last played back in 2003, was the last white player to man that position, and that was obviously quite some time ago. You look at center. Center is still a position which is, in a league that's overwhelmingly majority black, center is a position where you will find mostly white athletes. Quarterback is another situation. But cornerback, when you talk about the blackest position in the NFL, it's definitely cornerback.
Hasn't McCaffrey gotten, people thought he was a kicker or something? He's dealing something with that?
Yeah, you know, that's the crazy thing about it. People would look at him when he was going to camps as a kid or as a younger player, you know, in high school, college. They think he was a kicker because kickers, that's another position, punter, kicker, where it's also overwhelmingly white. So he would get that. And here's the thing, this guy is an incredible talent. Okay, he's most likely going to go very high in the draft. And at the combine, he talked about the fact that, you know, I don't get the kind of the respect I think I deserve. And you knew what he was talking about because he has talked in the past about how people have looked at him. But he deserves, you know, whatever he gets upcoming in this draft because this guy's an incredible player.
In a strange way, these are sort of echoes of what black quarterbacks used to have to deal with back in the 60s and 70s, where just because of your skin color, and I know Malcolm Gladwell is quoted in this.
Yes, he
sort of said it's a sorting problem. Explain what you're talking about.
Well, what Malcolm Gladwell, best-selling author, wrote the book Outliers. What he talked about is basically if you line up on a football field all the people, all the presidents who preceded Barack Obama, basically you look at them, they're all going to be 5'10" or taller and white. And so it's crazy that from a sorting perspective, you would basically limit your options to those narrow categories, but that's what happens. That's how we tend to process and sort things, and race is one of the factors that we factor in when we do that.
Anytime you make sweeping generalizations about someone when it has to do with race and their ability, you really have to tread carefully. But I know David Epstein, you also quoted him, he sort of took that head on in his book. What did he find out about how things break down?
Yeah, in the book that he wrote, The Sports Gene, what he came up with is not along racial lines. It really comes down to geography and where our ancestors come from. Like, are West African distance runners just great because they're black? No, it's because there are gene factors based on geography, things that we had to overcome as human beings that then later on help their descendants actually be great in certain different things.
Really a lot of interesting stuff here. Carrie, I know you wanted to chime in on this.
Yeah, no, Jason, I'm fascinated. And David, I appreciate you just going there and asking those questions because that's what I was thinking. What's the black position? What's the white position? Do you think that there will be a time, and I didn't get to read the article in its entirety, but do you think there will be a time in which positions aren't defined by race?
Well, Carrie, I definitely think that we've seen in certain positions, like with the NFL quarterbacks, you know, there are more African Americans at those positions. So I don't think there's overt racism. One of the things that Harry Edwards talked about in the piece, Harry Edwards, you know, been at the intersection of sports, race, and culture for many, many years, is that what happens is not these teams are being racist. It's just that, let's say at center, you have a great center coming out of Wisconsin. And teams look at that guy and say, okay, he can play that position. What happens is it becomes very difficult for a black player to basically break through there because the pattern has been set for so long. So, yeah, there are obviously outliers. There have been great black centers who've gone to the Hall of Fame. But overall, when you look at it, there's a sorting thing, and we still tend to think, okay, well, that pattern is what fits.
All right. Really, check it out on The Undefeated with Jason Reed, Jane McManus, who wrote the article. As far as Christian McCaffrey, the football player, we've got Todd McShay in studio. Todd, what do you see when you see McCaffrey?
More interested in what Jason was talking about. That was fascinating stuff. I see a guy who's pro-ready, I think, for a lot of different reasons. He comes from a pro-style system. He has the work ethic that you expect. He played at a high level at college. And to me, when you pop on the tape, you see versatility everywhere. Certainly in the return game, but just on offense, I think as an inside zone runner, he does a great job of feeling the creases and being able to stick his foot in the dirt and accelerate up the field. And then the second part is as a pass catcher. You're not just drafting a running back, you're drafting a slot receiver. I think he's one of the 2 or 3 best slots in this draft. And look at here, you see some of the savvy and the ability to create separation with his feet as a route runner. That's a great job by a running back who's going to be used, I think, an awful lot in the slot, split out wide, and as a pass catcher in the NFL, as he was the past 2 years at Stanford with 82 catches. So McCaffrey will be the second back taken. I think in the top 8 picks, could go to Carolina, and Leonard Fournette from LSU would likely go by number 4.